Hello, welcome to CBA. My name is Hamza Dabcheri, and here is our top stories. Gargar Hospital successfully performed second phase of pediatric cardiac surgery. Somalia police spokesman escapes bomb attack. Turkey provides commando training to Somali soldiers. Ethiopia releases Reuters cameraman without charge. Plus, WHO virus mission to China is disarrayed as entry denied. Let's start with Somaliland. Gargar Multi-Speciality Hospital in Hargeisa, Somaliland has celebrated the success of the second phase of pediatric cardiac surgery in the country, which is a new system to the country and in the region. Parents have described the move as major achievement reached by their nation. Gargar Hospital has once again observed the second phase of pediatric cardiac surgery in Somaliland, which has saved the lives of many children suffering from heart diseases, but now able to go back to their schools and reunite with their loved ones. The procedure was performed by eminent Indian pediatric cardiologists at Indo-Gargar Metro Cardiac Center at Gargar Multi-Speciality Hospital. Dr. Muhammad Abdi Hargeye, the Director General of Somaliland Ministry of Health, has also uploaded the performance and contribution of Indo-Gargar Hospital for the nation and challenged other hospitals to follow suit.
aad iyo aad baan ugu faraxsanahay inaanu ka soo qayb galno horumarkan weyn ee ay gaadheen hospitaalka Gargar.
We are very happy to be here with you and acknowledge the milestone Indo-Gargar Hospital has achieved and giving this golden opportunity for our community. Whether it's the past time where the President participated or this one, this is a much awaited and important event of the nation.
waxa ay tahay saaxad run ahaantii loo baahnaa oo muhiim ah oo horumar weyn u ah Somaliland iyo geyiga af Soomaaliga lagaga hadlaba.
Dr. Abdurrahman Ali Mohammed Okombe, the Executive Director of Gargar Hospital, has narrated the origins of the idea Indo-Gargar encouraged to conduct the pediatric cardiac surgeries in Somaliland and challenges they faced during their process.
waad ogtiinoo dufcadii labaad ee aanu sameeyno halkan tii hore waad ogeedeenoo waxa nagala qayb qaatay madaxweynaha Jamhuuriyadda Somaliland Muuse Biixi Cabdi.
This is our second phase to conduct it. You will all remember in the first phase, we were joined by the country president Muuse Biixi Abdi and became the first person to sponsor the first financial contribution to the children, but later difficultly found people to take part in contributions, and later we asked people to join sponsor the cost of the surgery.
wadnaha qalay India jooga intuu ku iman kara wadankeena ama Hargeysa ku iman karo waa garan karaysaa.
Dr. Rajesh Kumar has also expressed his concern for this second phase and underlined that they had done a range of patients which included simple heart attack and complex coronary problems.
This is a very, I can say, today is a very happiest day, and we have made 2 successful workshops of 10 to 12 children. We are able to do successful procedures, and they were able to get discharged in the next day itself. There are a lot of children with the same problem or hesitant to come or without having a knowledge what to go. So this is the best place to get their children screened by echocardiography, that heart scan, and then whoever is possible for the correction, the life-saving procedure which we have done last 2 days, we will be able to get the children done, and they will be able to play even next day, and they will be able to start going to school even next day itself.
Indo-Gargar Metro Cardiac Center at Gargar Multi-Speciality Hospital has been revolutionizing cardiac care in the Horn of Africa by performing procedures like coronary angiogram, coronary angioplasty, and permanent pacemaker implantation for the first time in the Somali region. This is a giant leap forward for cardiac care in the region. The Somalia police spokesman Sadiq Adam Ali has survived a bomb attack in Mogadishu. At least one person was confirmed dead in the attack that also injured 2 other civilians. A landmine targeting Somalia police spokesman Sadiq Adam Ali has left 1 person dead on Tuesday night in Mogadishu's Waperi district. The police spokesman said he was not in his car at the time of the incident, adding that he was not scared of such threats and he is ready to serve the public. Security forces were deployed on the crime scene looking for the perpetrators, but so far, none of those behind the landmine road were apprehended. No group has claimed responsibility for the attack, but Al-Shabaab, which is fighting to overthrow the federal government, has carried out similar attacks in the past. The group claimed responsibility for the Saturday's attack near the Somalia capital of Mogadishu that left at least 4 people, including Turkish nationalists. Al-Shabaab was driving from Mogadishu by the Somali National Army and African Union mission in Somalia in 2011, but the militant group is still able to conduct large and small attacks in the country and elsewhere. Turkey has started training over 150 of Somalia's newly recruited elite soldiers as part of an initial plan to train a third of the country's armed forces. The first batch to receive the training in the pace was selected from the members of the army. Turkey government has commenced training of over 150 Somalia's newly recruited commandos as part of an initial plan to train a third of the country's armed forces. According to the Turkish government, soldiers will receive special commando training in Turkey's counter-terrorism training and exercise center in southwestern province of Sparta. Last August, Turkey's ambassador to Mogadishu, Mehmet Yilmaz, affirmed that Turkey is on track to train some of 1/3 of Somali military forces, totaling around 15,000 to 16,000 personnel. Relations between Turkey and the Horn of Africa nation are historically strong and picked up pace after President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's official visit in 2011, making him the only non-African leader to visit Somalia in 20 years. Turkey has also been continuing its support to Somalia with humanitarian aid in the areas of health, education and security, as it has extensive experience fighting terrorists. Turkish training of the Somali military is also helpful in countering Somalia's own terrorist threat. An Ethiopian cameraman working for Reuters was released without charges 12 days after his arrest in Addis Ababa, the international news agency said on Tuesday, following criticism from the U.S.
Kumera Gemechu had been arrested by armed federal police at his home on December 24, and the following day, a judge ordered him held for 2 weeks. Reuters editor-in-chief Stephen J. Adler said in a statement how delighted they were that Kumera has been released and reunited with his family. His release today, he added, affirms that he has done nothing wrong. A freelance cameraman for Reuters for a decade, Kumera had been reporting on the conflicts in Ethiopia's Tigray, where Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed ordered the military to confront the ruling party of the dissident northern region. Ethiopia restricted media access to the region, and Tigray was under a total communications blackout for 6 weeks as the conflict raged between federal and regional forces. Kumera's arrest drew swift criticism from the U.S., with Washington's top Africa envoy, Tebo Nagy, saying last month he was extremely concerned by continuing reports of intimidation of journalists in Ethiopia. At the time, Reuters said Kumera's arrest followed the beating of one of its photographers in Ethiopia by 2 federal police officers on December 16. The agency said on Tuesday that Ethiopian Police and Prosecutor's Office did not respond to questions from Reuters on the reasons for Kumera's arrests and subsequent release. Officials had earlier told the cameraman's lawyer, Malcolm Ogo, that he was suspected of disseminating false information communication with groups fighting the government and disturbing the public's peace and security, Reuters said. Ogo said he had seen no evidence, Reuters added. The Committee to Protect Journalists last month identified Ethiopia as a top jailer of reporters, saying at least 7 media workers were behind bars in the Horn of Africa nation. Most were accused of crimes against the state, the US-based watchdog said. The CBJ's Sub-Saharan Africa representative, Mothoki Momo, has condemned the Ethiopian authorities' pattern of maneuvering around bail orders to extend pre-trial detention. In Reporters Without Borders annual World Press Freedom Index, Ethiopia is ranked 99th among 179 nations who violate human rights.
And now let's go to Kenya. The number of confirmed COVID-19 infections in Kenya has risen to 90,000 127 after another 219 people tested positive from 5,413 samples, the Ministry of Health announced it on Tuesday.
The new cases comprise 170 Kenyans and 49 foreigners, of whom 136 are male and 83 females. The youngest patient is a 2-month-old infant, while the oldest is a 90-year-old. According to the statement from the Ministry of Health, 4 patients succumbed to the virus in the last 24 hours, bringing total number of fatalities to 1,690. Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe in a statement further said that 100 patients have recovered, bringing the tally for national recoveries to 79,357. From the latest recoveries, 83 are from home-based care programs, while 17 have been discharged from various hospitals across the country. The CS further stated that there are 614 patients admitted in various health facilities countrywide, 2,940 are in home-based care. 29 patients are in intensive care unit, 15 of whom are ventilatory support, while 11 on supplemental oxygen. 3 patients are under observation. Another 17 patients are separately on supplementary oxygen, 16 of whom are general wards, and 1 patient in high dependency units. Nairobi continued to lead with the number of infections per country, as 141 new infections reported, followed by Mombasa 26, Uasin Gishu 7, Kisumu 6, Machakos 5, Taita Taveta 5, Kiambu 4, Wale 4, Nakuru 4, Elgeyo Marakwet 3, Kajiado 3, Meru 3, Kilifi 2, Kirinya 1, Murang'a 1, Ndidi 1, Nyangaru 1, Saya 1, and Turkana 1.
The Electoral Commission has blocked presidential candidate Robert Kyagulanyi, known as Bobi Wine, from campaigning in 16 districts without permission.
The Electoral Commission in Uganda has blocked presidential candidate Robert Kyagulanyi, also known as Bobi Wine, from campaigning in 16 districts without permission. Bobi Wine had hoped to return to the districts he skipped on his campaign schedule, but the Electoral Commission wants him to sign a memorandum of understanding before he embarks on a return journey to the district. Bobi Wine rejected the conditions, saying that other presidential candidates are in the field campaigning without signing the document.
The Electoral Commission was silent when I was blocked from addressing the people of Kalangala. It is still silent about the illegal arrest and detention of our entire campaign team. I am a presidential candidate and I am supposed to have the same rights, the same democratic rights as other candidates. But our team has always been harassed. Our members have been murdered by the security agencies. But the Electoral Commission has pretended that nothing is happening.
In the Memorandum of Understanding, all presidential candidates are required to hold peaceful campaigns, follow the COVID-19 guidelines from the Ministry of Health and the Electoral Commission guidelines on processions. Also, the candidates are not allowed to be in the same districts at the same time. Bobi Wine said he had missed out on campaigning in these districts because police had blocked him from accessing these areas without a clear explanation. The Electoral Commission spokesperson Paul Bukenya on Tuesday said that Bobi Wine had no option but to comply with the set conditions before visiting the 16 districts. Mr. Bukenya told the press that it is in his best interest to comply, and it is not true that we have refused to harmonize his program. This is a process and we have just told him to meet his obligation on his side. We shall allow him to go and campaign in those areas. We hope all candidates will be able to come and sign this memorandum of understanding. Last week, citing the surging COVID-19 infections and persistent violation of the standard operating procedures by some candidates, the Electoral Commission suspended campaign meetings in Wakiso, Kampala, Jinja, and among several other states. The Electoral Commission is conniving with President Museveni to break the law. The NUP will keep exposing them so that everyone gets to know that they are not acting within the law. We need to free the minds of the people, Bobi Wine said, as he quoted the musicians. The Electoral Commission is conniving with President Museveni to break the law. The NUP will keep exposing them so that everyone gets to know that they are not acting within the law.
The recent spike in COVID-19 deaths has put immense pressure on the funeral industry, as COVID shortages have been reported in some regions of South Africa at the instance of second wave.
The grim impact of COVID-19 continues to wreak devastation across South Africa and the rest of the world. As the daily death toll reaches stomach-churning heights in Zanzibar, the country's ability to cope with the knock-on effects has been depleted. And there's no better example of this than the so-called coffin shortage. Dr. Lawrence Konyana, Deputy President of the National Funeral Directors Association, has told media that some of their members in the Eastern Cape had reported a coffin shortage at the beginning of the month. These grave issues also like to surface in several other provinces such as KZN, the Western Cape and Gauteng. COVID-19 deaths are still escalating in these parts of SA, and the strain is being felt by funeral directors and mortuary attendants alike. The feared coffin shortage is being caused by a number of intertwined factors. This includes the spiking death rates from the second wave of COVID-19 and the closure of some manufacturers during the festive season. Also, funeral proceedings have approximately doubled in KZN and the Eastern Cape during December. COVID-19 protocols are also causing delays to services. Turnaround times to fetch bodies from hospitals have trebled, going from an average of 20 minutes up to 60 minutes. On Tuesday, over 500 people were confirmed dead as a result of contracting coronavirus. The Western Cape remains worst affected province, with the Eastern Cape and KZN also struggling to stave off tide of fatalities.
Senegal president on Tuesday announced a new state of emergency in response to record cases of coronavirus sweeping parts of the West African nation.
My dear compatriots, and I tell you with solemnity, the hour is grave. The speed of disease progression requires to raise the level of response, feeling that we run a serious risk of public calamity.
Senegalese President Macky Sall on Tuesday announced a new state of emergency in response to record cases of coronavirus sweeping parts of West African nation. Starting on Wednesday, the 6th of January, an nighttime curfew will be enforced in the regions of Dakar and Thiès, which Sall said are home to more than 90% of the cases. Mass squaring will be mandatory and large gatherings have been banned. The new measures come 6 months after a first state of emergency was lifted in an attempt to bolster an economy hit hard by restrictions on movement during a first wave of the virus. Senegal has reported 19,964 COVID-19 infections and 428 coronavirus-related deaths since the pandemic began. New cases rose by a record 240 on December 26th of 2020. 7 deaths were reported, the second highest count yet. This is a grave hour, Sall said on national television. On the recommendation of the medical corps, I decided to declare a state of emergency on 2 regions initially. Most of sub-Saharan Africa, including Senegal, has been spared the large-scale outbreaks in Europe and the United States. Scientists say that this is due in part to the younger populations and the quick way in which governments moved to contain the virus when it first arrived last year. But a recent surge in many countries in West Africa has raised concerns that the spread could pick up as containment measures ease and the cooler weather descends on a region where testing levels are some of the lowest in the world. Senegal's curfew will run from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. It is not clear if travel between the regions will be banned, as was the case during last year's state of emergency.
And now to Congo. Local authorities have confirmed that at least 20 people were killed in a village in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo when a militant launched a planned attack in an area that usually sees Islamist rebel aggression.
Local authorities have confirmed that at least 21 people were killed in a village in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo when militants launched a bloody attack in an area that usually sees Islamist rebel aggression. The militants launched the attack late on Monday and killed residents in the Mwenda village with machetes and guns. Although no group has claimed responsibility for the unfortunate act, but an administrator for the region of Beni blamed the attack on the Allied Democratic Forces (ADF), an Ugandan Islamic rebel group. The latest attack comes only days after the ADF killed about 21 people on the eve of the new year. The ADF, which originated in the 1990s in western Uganda with the aim of creating an Islamic state, is one of dozens of armed groups that plague the eastern provinces of the vast Democratic Republic of Congo. About 6 years ago, the ADF started to attack villages, killing people using machetes and guns and abducting hundreds of others. The armed groups is the deadliest among dozens still active in the Kivu region and southern Ituri. A recent report by the United Nations experts indicated that large-scale military operations have failed to stop the killings carried out by the combatants who now operate in small groups. Kamil Sadiq reporting for CBATV.
An expert mission to China to find the origins of the coronavirus pandemic stumbled before it even began, with the head of the World Health Organization complaining that Beijing was blocking the team from entering the country.
Expert mission to China to find the origins of the coronavirus pandemic stumbled before it even began, with the head of the World Health Organization complaining that Beijing was blocking the team from entering the country. World Health Organization Chief Tedros Ghebreyesus said that he was very disappointed with the last-minute bar on entry in a rare castigation of Beijing from the UN body. A 10-strong team was due to arrive in China this week after months of painstaking negotiations. Beijing is determined to control the origin story of the virus, which has killed more than 1.8 million people so far and laid waste to global economies. But Beijing has so far resisted pressure for a full independent probe into the early days of the outbreak. Instead, it has ceded doubt as to whether the pandemic even started inside its borders. The World Health Organization mission was built out as a way to cut through the rancor and seek clear answers on how the virus jumped from animals to humans. But with some of the team already in transit, Beijing had yet to grant them entry. The World Health Organization chief said there was no immediate comment from China. He stressed the absolute critical nature of the mission, acknowledging that the situation was frustrating and disappointing. The origins of COVID-19 remain bitterly contested, lost in a fog of recriminations and conjecture from the international community, as well as obfuscation from Chinese authorities determined to keep control of the virus narrative. Scientists initially believed that the virus jumped to humans at a market selling exotic animals for meat in the city of Wuhan. But experts now think that the market may not have been the origin of the outbreak, but rather a place where it was amplified. It is widely assumed that the virus originally came from bats, but the intermediate animal host that transmitted it between bats and humans remains unknown.
England's third national lockdown became law overnight, and MPs will vote on the regulations respectively later. Restrictions include a stay-at-home order and the closure of the schools to most populace to tackle rapidly rising coronavirus infection crisis.
England's third national lockdown became law overnight, and MPs will vote on the regulations retrospectively later today. Restrictions include a stay-at-home order and the closure of schools to most pupils to tackle rapidly rising coronavirus infection rates. It is estimated that 1 in 50 people had COVID-19 last week, rising to 1 in 30 in London alone. Chris Hobson from NHS providers said that many hospitals are close to capacity. It's not just in London, he said. Every single trust executive that we speak to is saying that they are under huge and significant pressure. MPs will return to Westminster to vote on regulations enforcing England's national lockdown later today, as the stringent restrictions entered into force overnight amid spiraling coronavirus cases. This comes as the World Health Organization said it would recommend withholding the second dose of the vaccine for up to 12 weeks, instead suggesting that the interval should be between 3 and 4 weeks.
Stay at home, protect the NHS, save lives. But this is not just bad luck. It's not inevitable. It follows a pattern. In the first wave of the pandemic, the government was repeatedly too slow to act. And we ended 2020 with one of the highest death tolls in Europe and the worst hit economy of major economies. In the early summer, a government report called Preparing for a Challenging Winter warned of the risk of a second wave, of the virus mutating, and of the NHS being overwhelmed. It set out the preparations the government needed to take. I put that report to the Prime Minister at PMQs in July. Throughout the autumn, track and trace didn't work. SAGE advised a circuit break in September, but the Prime Minister delayed for weeks before acting.
Meanwhile, Education Secretary Gavin Williamson will outline a package of support for young people after students in England were told that this year's GCSE and A-level exams would be scrapped. The regulations enforcing a national lockdown in England came into effect at midnight on Wednesday, as data from the Office for National Statistics suggested that 1.1 million people in private households in England had COVID-19 between December 27th and January 2nd. England's Chief Medical Officer, Professor Chris Whitty, said people must take the stay-at-home rule seriously, as he warned that the country faced a really serious emergency. His comments came as the number of daily Confirmed cases of coronavirus in the UK topped 60,000 for the first time, while a further 830 people died within 28 days of testing positive for COVID-19 as of Tuesday. But in a sign of progress, the Prime Minister said that more than 1.3 million people have been vaccinated against the virus across the UK so far, including 23% of all the over 80s in England.
Well, I thank the right honourable gentleman, who I think made some sensible points there, in addition to some slightly party political ones. And I just say on the political points, I think it is worth remembering that the waves of coronavirus that we've seen across Western Europe in the last few weeks, I'm afraid, we are also seeing here, with the additional pressure, Mr. Speaker, of the new variant of the virus. I think most people do understand that. He asked about support for the self-employed, and we've already given, I think, 13.7 billion to help the self-employed in particular, as part of a massive package of support for jobs and livelihoods across the whole of the UK, totaling 260 billion, Mr. Speaker. We will continue to support families through universal credit. There's been an uplift, as he knows, of £1,000 until at least until April. The eviction ban is under review. There's been above.
Professor Whitty, speaking alongside Mr. Johnson at Downing Street press conference on Tuesday evening, said that the vaccine timetable was realistic but not easy, and that the NHS would have to use multiple channels to get it out. Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer urged the government to use a lockdown to create a round-the-clock vaccination scheme in order to end this nightmare. In a televised response to Mr. Johnson's statement, Sir Keir also confirmed that he would back the new restrictions on the Commons vote on Wednesday.
And now let's see our sports news with Abdul Aziz.
For taking the Carabao Cup seriously as they move to within one game of a first trophy in 13 years with the semi-final over Brentford. Spurs have not claimed silverware since they beat Chelsea in 2008 League Cup final, and they were made to work hard before seeing off the Championship promotion chasers in this one-leg semi-final at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Mourinho has won the cup on 4 occasions, and goals from Musa Sissoko and Heung-min Son ensured that now he has the chance to make that 5. Having become the third manager to reach the final with 3 different teams. Manchester City legend Colin Bell died aged 74 after a short illness, the Premier League club have announced. The former England midfielder made 501 appearances for City between 1966 and 1979, scoring 153 goals. He won 48 caps for his country. 3 players have left such an indelible mark on City, said club statement on Tuesday. In 2004, Manchester City fans voted to name one of the stands in the Etihad Stadium in Bell's honour. Colin Bell will always be remembered as one of Manchester City's greatest players, and the very sad news today of his passing will affect everybody connected to our club, said City chairman Khaldoon Al-Mubarak. Manchester United will again be without Edison Cavani for the Carabao Cup semi-final against Manchester City. The 33-year-old striker served the second match of his 3-match ban. City could have defender Kyle Walker and forward Gabriel Jesus available after periods of isolation. The rivals met in last year's semi-final with City winning 3-2 on aggregate over 2 legs. United have defender Victor Lindelof, but winger Ferran Torres, goalkeeper Edison and centre-back Eric Garcia are out for City.
And that's our news bulletin for this time. Thank you very much for being with us. My name is Hamza Dabcheri.